Would you please be seated? Friends, may I be the first to welcome you here this afternoon to Lincoln Cathedral on this very exciting and important day. My name is Sal McDougall. I'm the precentor here at the Cathedral, which means I'm one of the clergy team, and it's a delight to have you with us. You've come to the Cathedral on an auspicious day when here and around the country, in fact, the Church is remembering and giving thanks for the life of Robert Grosseteste. Grosseteste was a theologian, he was a scientist and a philosopher, and he was the Bishop of Lincoln. His tomb is in this building, and one day you might like to come back and find it for yourself. I'll give you a clue. It's that way. Robert Grosseteste was interested in the natural world and in the lessons it could teach us about what God is like. He was interested in the truth. He was interested in breadth of knowledge and in systematic learning and method. He liked to form his own opinions and to share them with others. He wasn't afraid to break new ground. He was a mathematician and a physicist, the first of his age. So today you are in the cathedral of an important scholar. And as Bishop of Lincoln, this was his cathedral. And as students and staff of Bishop Grosseteste University, this is your cathedral too. So it's my great pleasure to welcome you here today, to wish you well with your studies in the year ahead and with all aspects of life at university. And just as it's a joy to welcome you here today, so too we look forward to welcoming you back to the cathedral for graduation in a few years' time. Thank you.
I hereby declare this congregation assembled for the matriculation of students to be open. I welcome all who are gathered here for this ceremony.
My Lord Lieutenant, Madam Chancellor, Madam Presenter, distinguished civic guests, staff and students of Bishop Grosseteste University. As Vice-Chancellor of the institution, it gives me huge pleasure to welcome everyone to this, the third ever matriculation ceremony. We have been preparing for you, we have been eagerly awaiting your arrival, and now you are here, our new cohort of students, and you look stunning. Many people have commented to me over the past couple of weeks how wonderful it is to have some new, vibrant life around campus. That doesn't say much for those of us who have been around the campus all summer, but I do know what they mean. New, enthusiastic students, the next generation of scholars, full of energy, anticipation, and intelligence. Or that's what I thought until I saw a bunch of you cavorting around in what looked like a huge bath of shaving foam during Freshers' Week. Well, if you can't make a fool of yourself in Freshers' Week, when can you? And it certainly seemed like a very good beginning. You have arrived in an institution which is historic. You've arrived in one of the most historic cities in the country, and we are starting off in this most beautiful building, which is one of the most splendid cathedrals in the world. So what is a matriculation ceremony? Well, matriculation is the formal process of entering a university, when the names of students are entered on matricula, or the register, as it's known in Latin, to recognise officially the names of the students who have signed. And to mark this important occasion, we are presenting you with a badge, a gold badge which was designed especially for our arriving students. And as the presenter has already said, this is a special day. It's not just by chance that we meet on this day, when the Church worldwide celebrates the life of Bishop Grosseteste. And I hope that you will be able to educate the general public, both in how to pronounce his name and also what it means, big head or big mind, as we prefer to know it as. You will hear, of course, different pronunciations of his name, but the one who has got it most accurately to its Anglo-Norman origin is the chaplain, so concentrate on his pronunciation. You've already been invited to visit the mortal remains of Bishop Grosseteste in this cathedral, and I hope that this is a building with which you will develop a relationship during your time here. And I am most grateful to the Dean and the chapter of the cathedral for their support in all of the events that we organise here. Matriculation, our Advent Carol service in a few weeks, and of course, graduation. Bishop Grosseteste University has a distinguished history of providing higher education. It was opened in 1862 as the Diocesan Training School, with only 40 students who were training to be teachers. It was renamed in 1962 Bishop Grosseteste College, and then again in 1993 it became Bishop Grosseteste University College, and we gained full university title in 2012. It is one of 16 institutions in the country known as the Cathedrals Group, and we're also a member of the Colleges and Universities of the Anglican Communion, or CUAC, which has branches in Asia, Europe, India, the United States, and Canada. So we are part of something much, much bigger. And Lincoln is a very historic city. In 2015, we celebrated the original signing of Magna Carta. And this year, there are two special anniversaries. One was the Battle of Lincoln, which was commemorated in May, which was of huge historic significance for England, and it was concluded just outside the door of this cathedral. Then next month, we celebrate the Charter of the Forest, which was written 2 years later, and it gave rights of access to the royal forest to ordinary people. It was the very first environmental law statute. And it's significant for this city because Lincoln holds one of the original copies of the charters, and it, along with one of the original Magna Carta, is displayed in the castle. And next month, on the 6th of November, we will be planting a tree on campus to commemorate the anniversary of the Charter of the Forest. So you are part of a very historic city in England and the world. And of course, history and tradition are very important to us, but we also have our eye very much on the future, your future. During your time at BGU, you will be working with highly qualified and experienced and dedicated staff. But you will also learn from your own research, from those in your class, from those with whom you work on placements. You will be encouraged to explore new ideas, to challenge conventional wisdom, but as importantly, it will be a time when you learn more about yourselves. We want you to become rounded graduates of the institution by developing what we are calling the BGU graduate attributes For example, academic literacies, enterprise skills, information literacy, and I believe there's a keyring in your seat which will illustrate these attributes. We've also recently launched what we are calling the BGU Associate Award, which gives you the opportunity to explore a broader canvas of education in the world, and there are details of that in your seats too. We also offer an employability award, a volunteering award, and we organise a networking club. And all of these are designed to give you that value-added extra, which will set you apart from the crowd when you're applying for jobs. And I would encourage you to participate in as many of these opportunities as you can. You will also see that we continue to invest in the campus, and just in time for your arrival, we opened the second phase of Constance Stewart Hall, which you see jutting out onto the roundabout. And that makes a huge statement about our place in the city as a place of learning. The staff here will do their part to support you, but being part of a university community also carries responsibilities, which are outlined in our student charter. There's that word again, a modern day charter. Being a student means active engagement in your learning, balancing your time, and managing your academic work with other activities. And above all, we are focusing on empowering you as global citizens, which is implied in our university motto, which in Latin is Ne omnia sibi habea, or don't keep it all to yourself. Use the knowledge and skills that you develop to make the world a better place. Those of you who have left the workplace to return to study, or have come from being a carer at home, will recognize the benefits of being able to spend some quality time in studying. Some of you are reinventing yourselves and exploring new pathways, and that is tremendous. A couple of years ago, one of the papers interviewed a group of students about their experiences at university. And one student said that she only knew who her vice-chancellor was at graduation. Well, you can't say that. You now know who I am. You may see me on campus, not always dressed like this, but please do talk to me and tell me how you're getting on. But remember that we have an appointment here back at the cathedral when you graduate, either at the end of this year or in 2 years or 3 years' time. So in conclusion, on behalf of all the staff, the University Council, and the whole of the BGU community, I thank you for choosing to spend some of the best years of your life with us, and I wish you every success. And I do hope that those of you who are going to the matriculation ball have a fantastic time. So thank you very much. So could I now ask all of the students to stand to be formally recognized as members of the university? Please stand. By the authority of the university, I admit all new students presented at this matriculation ceremony as members of the university. And I now call upon the registrar formally to subscribe the matricular roll.
The ceremony of matriculation marks the beginning of formal membership of the university. As registrar, it gives me great pleasure to subscribe the matriculation book as part of the university regulations.
To share the hands of friendship and welcome each other.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Lincoln Cathedral for your matriculation ceremony. My name is Kieran Parish. I'm your Students' Union President, and as such, on behalf of everybody associated with the Students' Union, I would like to welcome you as a formally recognised student to Bishop Grosseteste University. So, first of all, I'd really like to congratulate you on your fantastic achievement of being accepted to BG. Whatever degree you're going into, you have made a very important and a very brave decision about the future of your life and the direction you want to take. Whatever the reasons you have for coming here, the excellent teaching, the employability statistics, the community feel, the campus, or even because of Lincoln City's FA Cup heroics last year, genuinely a reason some people have said they've come here, BG will help you take the next step in your life. Being at BG will provide you with unforgettable experiences, will allow you to discover and meet people who will change your lives and will help you understand your barriers, your limitations, and push yourselves further than you ever thought you could. Coming from a graduate of BG, I admit I really envy you all, and I encourage you to get as involved as you possibly can, because university will simply be interesting if you let it pass you by, but it will be a truly extraordinary experience if you choose to fully immerse yourselves, and I promise that you will not be the same person when you leave as you are when you arrive. Now, I did a speech at last year's matriculation where I used some movie quotes to offer some poignant and meaningful advice. But movie quotes are so last year. So what I've decided this year to do is to use some famous song quotes. Some of them are seamlessly slipped in, some are not. I'll let you be the judge of which is which. But please pay attention, as there may be a quiz at the matriculation ball tonight. So first of all, a degree is many things. Someday it will be fun, it will be exciting, it can make you feel like you're doing something life-affirming and worthwhile, but on others this may not be the case. Odds on that'll be because you have a 9 o'clock Monday morning lecture that you don't want to get up for. Or it could simply be because you could be on placement for weeks, months, you could be doing planning in your spare time, there could be reading lists, or you could just really be getting to grips with your life in general. But the one thing that you've got to learn at this point is you've got to take some time out for yourselves. Whether that's playing video games, whether it's doing some sports, whether it's knitting, or whether it's dancing. Make sure you take that time for yourselves, because please remember that you can dance if you want to. You can leave your friends behind, because your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, well, they're no friends of mine. So, for those of you who didn't notice, that was one of the crudely put in song quotes. The point I'm trying to make is that you need to make some time for self-care, otherwise you will burn yourselves out. A degree affords you so many wonderful opportunities that you won't necessarily be able to take advantage of if you're totally stressed out. If things get on top of you, look at what is going on in your life, prioritize, and you have to pay attention. You may have to strip things back. You may have to look after and look out for the simple, bare necessities of life. However, obviously, you don't have to go through this on your own due to the fantastic support services that we have here at BG, whether that be through us at the Students' Union, Student Advice, even Celt. Wherever you go, there will be people who want to help you. Now, another support system that you can have as well are your friends. Whether undergrad or postgrad, you are all in the same boat and you are going through the same things together. So I simply advise you that you surround yourselves with people who can help you see the joy and happiness in everyday life. People who can make you laugh and smile when you feel you can't. people who can help you to always look on the bright side of life. And if you still can't see the bright side when things seem to be a little dark, just remember that at BG, we can help provide that light. And as a wise man once said, lights will guide you home, and we will try to fix you. Now, the next point that I have to make, and I really hate to say this one in front of people who used to be my lecturers, but university is not the be-all and end-all. I've seen many first years miss out on opportunities and experience because they are knuckling down and doing their work, which I need to point out is incredibly admirable. However, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And Einstein agrees with this. I haven't asked him in person, but he once said that the only thing that interferes with my learning is my education. And he's right. There will be things that you will learn in the outside world that you never can at university. And if you're too inwardly focused, you may miss these things. And personally speaking, I don't think you want to live your life missing out and regretting what may have been. You don't want to let life pass you by whilst you sit on the sidelines and watch. So live life to the fullest whilst you're here. Go out with your mates, join sports teams, societies, go on a volunteering trip to Nepal, take joy in placement, even if you don't want to teach, and I hope that doesn't apply to any of our PGCE students here today. However, and I do have to say this, please don't lean too far the other way, because obviously things can unravel quite quickly. This being said, all I can do is I can offer you advice. It's totally your responsibility now. Your decisions are all important, which means, and this is very important, that you take the credit when you can. But it also means you need to take it on the chin when things go wrong. I've known a lot of people blame everyone and anyone apart from themselves, so if things do go awry, please, don't blame it on the sunshine. Don't blame it on the moonlight. Don't blame it on the good times. Take it on the chin, learn from it, move on. And blame it on the boogie. So this brings an end to my speech here today. And please remember that everything that you do during your time here and beyond will have an effect on someone. In a world where negative news is spewed at us by the media, please remember that positivity in the world starts with you. So carry it around with you and try and make that positive impact on others and fill the world with joy. Believe it or not, you can change the world. Every kind act has an impact on someone and changes their outlook on the world. So to them, you have changed their world. So go out, make that impact, live your life, climb every mountain, ford every stream, and more, much more than this. Do it your way. Thank you.
$764 ago today, the patron of our university, Robert Grosseteste, passed away. He was a scientist, a bishop, a poet, and probably the greatest thinker of his generation. The chronicles tell us that when he was a young boy, his mother packed him off from his home in Suffolk, telling him to seek an education at Lincoln Cathedral. Before she did so, she imparted some advice. She told her young son to always value the food of the mind over the food of the belly. Young Grosseteste walked to Lincoln, and when he arrived here, he was fiercely hungry after his long journey. Stopping at the first big house he saw in order to beg, the door was opened by the mayor of Lincoln, who took one look at the ragged boy in front of him and presented him with a cooked chicken. The mayor told Grosseteste that he could have the chicken if he promised one thing: never to become the Bishop of Lincoln. Grosseteste was sorely tempted, but remembering the words of his mother, he declined the offer, saying that the food he sought was nourishment of the mind. The mayor was so impressed that he immediately promised to pay for Grosseteste's education, and so began the schooling of a future genius. And so you might say that your matriculation here today is a great invitation, an invitation to feast on the food of the mind and the soul. I've spent a good deal of time researching our patron, and I'm continually impressed by the wonderful ideas and discoveries he made. And I have to keep reminding myself that he is a medieval man working without computers or scientific equipment. He was the first person to know that rainbows were caused by refraction, that mathematics underpinned the workings of all nature, and that color is in fact three-dimensional. Who knew? However, there is one idea of his that is constantly being singled out as his most impressive. That is his cosmology, and in particular his idea that the universe was caused by a single event akin to an enormous explosion when light hit a particular spot of innate matter and dragged it to the outer fringes of space. But for me, as impressive as that idea is, it is not the greatest of his thoughts. For me, by far the most interesting idea that Grosseteste holds is deceptively simple. Because the Bishop of Lincoln argued that we humans are potentially greater even than angels. In the entire Christian corpus, from St. Augustine to Thomas Aquinas, from St. Francis to Pope Francis, I have never heard any theologian making a bigger claim for human potential. And how can we achieve this elevated state? The answer for Grosseteste was very straightforward: education. The process of learning is exactly like the process that created the universe. Light illuminates a spot in our mind where knowledge is innate. And when this happens, there is an explosion that Grosseteste calls by the Latin name Celertia. We are filled with understanding. It is that moment when we get it. Grosseteste promised that during our learning journey, this will happen to us many times. And as it does so, we become something else. We become a being that is even higher than the angels, a creature, he says, likened unto God. So before you leave the cathedral today, you might want to grab yourself a pair of metaphysical wings, because according to our patron, and I think he's right on this, during the next years of the program you have joined, you have the potential to become something extraordinary. You have the chance to soar higher than angels on the wings of discovery and learning. It is a wonderful opportunity, and one that I urge you to grasp. And it's only left for me to say, on behalf of our patron, Robert Grosseteste, whose feast day we celebrate today, have a wonderful flight.
My name is Peter Green. I'm the Dean of Chaplain, and you'll be very pleased to know those wonderful speeches, but this is the last. I had the great good fortune to meet a significant proportion of you when you enrolled. I noticed without surprise as you signed the matricular, which is just there, that most of you were displaying an entirely natural mixture of excitement and fear. You hardly need me to tell you that one of the reasons why going to university is increasingly popular in the UK is the expectation that you might make lifelong friendships, have your mind expanded, feel empowered, and feel employable. All of these things are rightly desirable to a lot of people. You also hardly need me to tell you that all of these things often involve pressure and stress as well as pleasure. And just to knock it home, I hope that my colleagues will agree with me when I say that if you're not being stretched by your experience of university, we're doing it wrong. It's also true that a good university, and you are now students of a very good university, will both challenge and support you. And the chaplaincy is one of the many bodies in the university that aims to do both of those things. So, what happens if you walk through the open door into one of the chaplaincy offices on campus? There's a good chance that along with the chaplaincy staff, there will be some students settled into the comfy chairs, More often than not, there will be banter or gossip or moans about the annoying habits of flatmates or the exchange of tips to improve academic performance. Or there will be those dropping in to inquire about chaplaincy trips. However, sometimes students walk into the chaplaincy office in a state of distress. And when that happens, we do our best to drop whatever we're doing and make time and private space for the one who is hurting. But there's another facility we offer that's not often publicized. 4 years ago, a student on the primary education degree course came to my office looking for an argument. His name was Sam. He'd been encouraged to go and see the chaplain by one of his lecturers because Sam was highly critical of the privileged place that religion seems to have in our educational system. Sam was in his second year of study, and in the course of 2 years, he would come back periodically to continue the argument. I miss Sam a great deal. We parted on very good terms when he graduated, and I would love to know how he's getting on. I loved the arguments we had. Sam is witty and never got personal. And what excited me so much was to see him grab with both hands the intellectual opportunities that university can offer. And the chaplaincy, along with so many other bits of the university, is here to provide the intellectual challenge as well. The one thing that you won't find, and this may surprise you, when you walk into the chaplaincy office, or if you're offered some free food by a chaplaincy volunteer, is entry into the brainwashing program. Our hashtag is "There is no catch." We're not here to enlist you into a religious cause or to dissuade you from a religious cause, unless your cause is violence or hatred. But that's going to be very unlikely. Our team consists of devout Christians and devout atheists, and all stations in between. We're here to help and support all members of our community, whether or not they have a religious affiliation. We're here to support you if you're religious or on a spiritual quest, and to support you if you want a richer experience of university, irrespective of religious or spiritual considerations. We provide opportunities to pray and opportunities to go paintballing. You can go on a trip to the opera or the Royal Shakespeare Company with chaplaincy, and you can go shopping at IKEA with us. You can join us on pilgrimage, or you can join us on sightseeing tours, or all of these, or just some of them. A huge amount of what we do is free of charge, and behind it all is our deep desire to make you feel welcome and cared for, and to see that you get the most out of your experience at university. And if you want to help us do this for other students, you're welcome to come and join the team. And you won't have to go through a bizarre religious ceremony in order to do so.
It now gives me great pleasure to invite the Cathedral Stewards and the Bishop Grosseteste University Students' Union Executive Team to distribute the matriculation badges. Please remain seated quietly as we reflect on the short recital given by the musicians of the university.
So I'm now delighted to introduce to you two students who were sitting in your place last year and who have survived 1 year of BG, and they're coming to tell you a bit about their experience last year. So I would ask Bridie McGee, who's studying drama in the community, and Thomas Bishop, who's studying education studies and history.
Hi everyone, my name is Bridie McGee and I'm a drama in the community student in second year. Until I attended a UCAS convention 2 years ago, I didn't know that my course or BG even existed. Thankfully, I was drawn over by a poster of a ferret wearing a flat cap and a scarf, and I'd like to thank that ferret today. From the moment that I had read the prospectus and stepped onto campus, I knew that BG was the university for me. When I met my lecturers for the first time, I already knew I was scratching the surface of something amazing, and I was. Last year, the university offered me so many opportunities to better myself in my chosen field, and I can't thank them enough. When I met my lecturers my highlight of university for last year was a module that I had never had any experience with, and I got to watch it turn into an aspiration for a career I never knew I could have. It became so much more than an assignment, and I was able to tour a project at the outside community that I was and still am in love with. The great thing about our university being so intimate is that excellence is noticed. So this year, be excellent. Last year, I met so many people who inspired me and supported me in totally new ways. They were my course mates, my flatmates, the SU, and most importantly, my fabulous lecturers. And these people I wouldn't have met without BG. So my advice to you would be to grab every opportunity, push yourself as hard as you can, celebrate every victory, and there is something to learn from everyone you meet. There is no shame in being in the library until 3 AM, and there is no shame at being at Quack until closing. So everything you do this year, do it with the passion and certainty that you want your future to have. As a university, we are small, but we are mighty. So wherever you are, make it known that we are BG and we are here.
Good afternoon, Freshers 17, and a huge welcome from me to our awesome university. I'll start by congratulating you all on making it through Freshers Week in one piece. This is no small task considering some of the hardcore drinking I know we get up to. This time last year, I was sat where you are now at the end of matriculation, absolutely dying of Freshers flu, which I painfully learned was very real, by the way. But sat there, I had absolutely no idea that one of the best years of my life was just ahead of me. Starting uni as a fresher, I didn't have a clue what to expect. I thought to myself, how hard is this going to be? How on earth do I go about this referencing thing? And what if I fail? At first, I was a bit worried to speak up because I didn't want to be singled out. And you too might be worrying about the same things, but trust me, you genuinely don't have to. Every tutor I came across last year and every staff member were so helpful. They will try their best to help with everything they can to make first year go as smoothly as possible. They quickly taught me that it's about seeing where you're at and building on that gradually, as we all need to start somewhere. In my first year, I managed to become an independent learner through better time management and organisation skills. However, it wasn't always plain sailing. I remember the first time I had 2 assignments due in 1 week. I was sat in the library so stressed out it was unreal. I felt like Dobby from Harry Potter that day, hoping someone would hand me a sock so I could crack on with my life as a free elf. Not too long after, and when the stress had subsided, I got my assignments back and the sock slid its way into my life. I absolutely aced it, better than I ever thought I would. The reason behind this was because my first year had taught me to become a more organised and dedicated learner without me even realising it. I found that by acting on the feedback from my tutors and utilising all the skills I'd learned throughout seminars in the year, I could carry on doing well, and I did. This year, some of you might have your very own Dobby moments, but I can't stress enough how important it is to harness the skills you've learned in the right way, by staying focused, planning each assignment in advance, and making the most of all resources available to you at BG. I can assure you that the difference between your first assignment and your last will make you feel immense. The best advice I can give is start off as strong as you possibly can and kick on from there. The rest will fall into place. Most of you will be living in halls, and some of you might have even left home for the first time. It can be a bit daunting at first, and you might not realise it yet, but congratulations, you now have a second family. It's strange feeling like you're part of a family at uni, but in second floor Connie's where I lived, that's exactly what it felt like sometimes. Last Christmas, we all clubbed together to pay for the ingredients towards a massive Christmas dinner for the whole floor. Cooking Christmas dinner for 30 or so people isn't easy, but we fired up the kitchens, sat together like a family and enjoyed Christmas dinner together. That is one of my happiest memories of first year. But these are my memories of Hall, not yours. You've got it all to come, and that is why I'm both jealous and happy for all of you. So this year, make the most of your time, work hard, but most importantly, enjoy it. Up the BGU, and thank you very much.
Friends, this is a day full of excitement and joy and hope and anticipation. So can I invite you now just to take a few moments of silence together, just to still ourselves, to become aware of the presence of God in this great place. And to commend to him and his care all that lies ahead. God our Father, you are at the centre of all that we are and everything that we do. We ask your blessing on us and on our university. May it be a place of scholarly learning and endeavour, of welcome and hospitality, of wisdom and compassion in all that lies before us. May we find a truer sense of ourselves and of your will for our lives. And the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be upon you and remain with you always. Amen.
I now declare this matriculation ceremony closed. Welcome to the university, and thank you for joining us. Matriculating students, we ask you to join the procession when directed, and to stay for the traditional group photograph out on the west front, while guests remain in their places.